The galaxy had never seen anything like Princess Lyra. Every planet, every star system, every species knew her name. She was beautiful, not just in appearance but in mind. Her intelligence was unmatched, her charm undeniable, and her courage legendary. For centuries, leaders, warriors, and billionaires from across the stars had dreamed of marrying her. To unite with Lyra was to gain power, wealth, and influence beyond imagining. But Princess Lyra refused them all. She had turned down the richest, the strongest, and the most intelligent suitors the galaxy had to offer. No alien prince, no interstellar merchant, no war hero could capture her heart. The whispers among her advisors were endless. She has standards no one can reach, they said. She will never choose anyone. Meanwhile, on the very edge of the galaxy, on a quiet human planet called Arden, a young man named Alex worked in a small starship repair station. He was not wealthy nor powerful nor known beyond his village. He spent his days fixing old ships, dreaming of exploring the stars and watching the night sky, wondering what lay beyond the distant twinkling lights. Alex had no idea that while he tightened a bolt or calibrated a navigation panel, the galaxy was preparing for the grandest contest ever held, the Arinthian Choice, they called it, a competition to win the hand of Princess Lyra. Every major species sent their champions, every wealthy family their heirs, and every warrior their best fighters. The galaxy buzzed with excitement as centuries of politics, power, and prestige were about to collide in one event. One ordinary morning, Alex's day began like any other. He was testing the propulsion system of an old cargo ship when the system misfired, sending sparks across the control panel. He ducked, muttering to himself about how nothing ever worked properly on this planet. He had just reached for the main console when the sky outside the station shifted in colors he had never seen before. A fleet of ships, all shining with the colors of the Arinthian Empire, appeared in the sky. Alex froze. Before he could even react, a small silver drone hovered into his workshop. It beeped, flashed a holographic message, and announced in a mechanical voice, "Contestant Alex Arden, you are hereby registered for the Arinthian Choice. Proceed to the launch platform immediately." Alex stared at the message. "What? I didn't register for anything," he said, rubbing his eyes. But before he could protest, a bright light enveloped his station and the floor beneath him lifted like a gentle elevator. Within moments, he was aboard a sleek white spaceship, surrounded by beings he had only seen in books and holovids, humanoids with 4 arms, creatures with scales shimmering like jewels, and towering warriors who could crush his head with one hand. "Wait, I think there's a mistake," Alex said, but no one answered. He realized there was no way to leave, and the ship was already heading into hyperspace. On the other side of the galaxy, Princess Lyra watched the contest unfold from the palace balcony. The candidates were impressive. There was Zathar, a 6-winged warrior who had defeated entire fleets in battle. There was Merix, a billionaire whose inventions were so advanced they could terraform planets overnight. There was Torella, whose beauty was legendary and whose mind had solved galactic riddles that no one else could. But then her attention shifted. Amidst the strongest and the smartest, one figure seemed out of place. A human from a remote, quiet planet. Lyra frowned, curious. He did not have the muscles of Zathar, nor the wealth of Merix, nor the reputation of Torella. Yet something about the way he moved, the way he observed the world, caught her attention. The first challenge was a test of courage. Contestants had to navigate a field of dangerous energy storms near a small star. Ships that failed would be destroyed instantly. Zathar laughed, zooming through the storm with his 4 wings spread, confident in his strength. Merix's ship hovered carefully, shields glowing, calculating every possible danger. Torella moved with grace, using speed and intelligence to avoid each surge of energy. And Alex? His small, outdated cargo ship shuddered as he flew into the storm. Sparks flew from the engines and alarms blared. He gritted his teeth, remembering everything he had learned from fixing ships. He guided the vessel carefully, using instinct more than skill. When a massive storm wave threatened to crush him, he quickly rerouted power, manually adjusting the shields. The ship groaned, but it survived. He emerged from the storm battered but intact. Lyra smiled. Most of the contestants had relied on power or wealth. Alex had relied on courage, quick thinking, and determination. It was something she had not seen in any alien competitor. The next challenge tested intelligence. Candidates were given a complex puzzle, a machine that no one could activate correctly. Merrick's went first using his advanced technology, but the machine rejected him. Torella tried, but her elegant calculations failed. Zathar smashed parts of it in frustration. Alex approached carefully. He examined the machine with his hands, turning knobs, pressing buttons, testing every small mechanism. He had repaired countless broken systems on Arden, and his practical knowledge proved invaluable. Within minutes, the machine whirred to life. Lights flashed and a small platform rose from the ground, signaling his success. The crowd gasped. A human, unknown to the galaxy, had outsmarted the most brilliant minds. Lyra's curiosity grew. He was not here for power or glory. He simply did what was right, and he did it well. But the final test was the hardest, a test of empathy. Contestants were placed in a simulated crisis, a planet in chaos, a population in danger. They had limited resources to help. Zathar immediately used force to control the situation. Merrick's built elaborate machines to manage the population. Torella tried to negotiate, but most of her solutions ignored the suffering of ordinary beings. Alex walked carefully through the simulation. He saw frightened children hiding, injured adults struggling, and people desperate for water and shelter. Without thinking of points or victory, he started helping. He carried children to safety, fixed broken water systems, and reassured those who were scared. He worked tirelessly, never pausing to think about himself. Lyra watched silently. None of the other contestants had acted with such selflessness. Humanity's empathy was rare in the galaxy, and Alex's actions showed her something she had never truly seen: a heart that put others first. By the end of the challenges, whispers filled the galaxy. How could a human, so small and unknown, outperform the strongest and richest of the universe? Even Lyra's advisors were stunned. Surely she cannot choose him, they whispered. It must be a mistake. Lyra, however, had made her decision. She had observed every contestant carefully, noting courage, intelligence, and compassion. Alex had excelled in all three, without ambition or desire for power. In him, she saw the qualities she valued most. The contest concluded with fanfare and celebrations, but tension filled the air. The galaxy waited for the princess to announce her choice. Every alien dignitary held their breath, certain that one of their champions would claim the prize. But Lyra's eyes were fixed on the human who had quietly changed everything. For Alex, the experience was bewildering. He had entered the contest by accident, never expecting glory, fame, or attention. Now he found himself the center of the galaxy's gaze, unsure of what to do or say. Yet despite his confusion, he felt a strange calm, as if he were exactly where he was meant to be. Lyra stepped forward, her presence commanding silence across the grand hall. She looked directly at Alex, her gaze steady and unwavering. The whispers of shock and disbelief rippled through the audience. The richest, strongest, and most intelligent beings in the galaxy waited, their pride wounded, their egos challenged. Throughout this contest, Lyra began, her voice clear and firm, I have observed many competitors. Some sought power, some sought wealth, some sought recognition. But I have found someone who seeks only to do what is right, who shows courage without arrogance, intelligence without pride, and compassion without expectation. All eyes turned to Alex. He swallowed nervously, unsure if he understood what she meant. The tension in the hall was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Lyra smiled, and for the first time, she let the crowd see the depth of her decision. My choice is clear. I choose the human, Alex Arden. The room erupted in shock. Aliens whispered, some laughed in disbelief, and others muttered indignantly. A human, the galaxy's greatest prize, the most sought-after bride, had chosen a humble human from a forgotten planet. Alex's heart raced. He had never imagined this. He wanted to step forward to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Lyra's calm gaze reassured him. He realized that it did not matter what the galaxy thought. This moment was real. This choice was genuine. Lyra's advisors hurried to control the crowd, but it was impossible. Whispers turned to debates, and debates to astonishment. The galaxy had expected a spectacle of politics, power, and prestige. Instead, it had witnessed the rise of humanity, a simple, humble human who had proven that greatness came not from wealth, power, or status, but from heart, courage, and mind. Alex looked at Lyra, understanding the weight of her choice, and for the first time in his life, he felt truly seen. Not as a poor engineer from a remote planet, but as someone who mattered, someone who could change the galaxy in ways no one had ever imagined. And as the stars outside the palace shimmered like diamonds, Alex realized that his life had just changed forever. The announcement had barely left Princess Lyra's lips when the hall erupted. Gasps, murmurs, and shocked whispers echoed across the grand palace. Every alien dignitary, every wealthy heir, and every warrior who had trained their whole lives for this moment stared in disbelief. How could she choose a human? A species considered weak, primitive, and inexperienced in galactic politics? Alex stood frozen. He had never imagined such attention nor such responsibility. He had entered the contest by accident, never seeking glory, never expecting fame. And yet here he was, chosen by the most celebrated princess in the galaxy. He felt a mix of fear, confusion, and awe. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes calm and unwavering, as if she had made the only choice that made sense. She ignored the whispers and disapproving glances. "Alex," she said softly, but with a voice that carried across the hall. "Do you understand what this means?" Alex swallowed hard. I think so," he stammered, "but I never expected. I'm just a human. I don't know the rules, the politics, or anything about this world," Lyra smiled. "That is why I chose you. You do not act for power or status. You act because it is right. You do not think of yourself before others. That is what matters to me." The crowd, however, was less understanding. Aliens who had spent decades preparing for this moment began to protest. "This is absurd," shouted one towering warrior with 4 arms. "She cannot choose a human over someone of true skill and power." A wealthy diplomat hissed, "This will destabilize the entire galaxy. Are we to be ruled by a human engineer?" Even some of Lyra's own advisors were taken aback. One leaned toward another, whispering urgently, "Perhaps she has lost her mind. This human, he cannot possibly manage the responsibilities of being her consort." But Lyra ignored them all. She turned her gaze back to Alex, steady and resolute. "The galaxy may not understand," she said, "but I do, and that is enough." Alex felt his heart pounding. The reality of the situation was overwhelming. He had never commanded a starship fleet, negotiated with interstellar leaders, or ruled over a kingdom. He had barely left his home planet. Yet somehow he had been chosen not for strength or wealth, but for something deeper, a human quality that aliens rarely understood. As the hall settled into a tense silence, Lyra guided Alex to stand beside her. Cameras floated overhead, capturing the moment for millions of viewers across the galaxy. This was not just a personal announcement. It was a statement to every planet, every species, every society. The ceremony continued with Lyra explaining the reasons behind her choice. "The contests tested strength, intelligence, and courage," she said. "All of these are important, but I realize something more important. True greatness comes from empathy, humility, and the courage to act rightly even when no one is watching. Alex embodies all of this." Alex looked at her, still stunned but feeling a growing sense of purpose. He realized that this moment was bigger than himself. He had an opportunity to show the galaxy what humanity could achieve, not through conquest, wealth, or technology, but through character. The crowd began to react in waves. Some were angry, some were shocked, some were skeptical. But there were also whispers of admiration. Several alien spectators who had watched Alex quietly perform acts of courage and kindness during the contest began to nod in approval. Perhaps this human, so small and seemingly ordinary, had qualities even the most advanced civilizations lacked. Outside the palace, news spread rapidly. Hollow broadcasts showed Alex standing beside Lyra, and commentary exploded across the galaxy. "A human?" one commentator said. "The princess has chosen a human over the strongest warriors and richest dynasties in the galaxy. Incredible." Another voice added, "Perhaps we have underestimated humanity. Perhaps they are capable of more than we imagined." Back in the palace, the human and the princess were escorted through a grand parade. Thousands of beings lined the streets, curious and bewildered. Ships hovered in the sky, projecting lights and messages of celebration. And even those who had doubted Alex could not deny his calm courage as he waved awkwardly to the crowd. Lyra leaned toward him. "Do not worry about them," she said. "This is your moment too. Walk with me as who you are, and they will see your worth." Alex nodded, taking her words to heart. He felt the weight of expectation, but also a quiet confidence growing inside him. He did not need to pretend to be something he was not. His honesty, humility, and determination had brought him this far. The day passed in a blur of ceremonies, speeches, and congratulations. Ambassadors, leaders, and even rivals approached Alex, some to challenge him, others to test his resolve. He handled each situation with the same qualities that had impressed Lyra: respect, patience, and clever thinking. Slowly, even the most skeptical began to acknowledge his presence. That evening, as the sun set over the palace's golden spires, Lyra took Alex to a quiet balcony overlooking the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and for the first time Alex felt a sense of peace amid the chaos. "I never imagined this," he said quietly. "I am just a human. I don't belong here." Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft but serious. "You belong wherever your heart guides you. The galaxy may not understand your worth, but I do, and that is all that matters." Alex felt a warmth spread through him. For the first time, he realized that he had not achieved this by accident. His small acts of kindness, his courage, and his heart had led him here. And now, standing beside the most celebrated princess in the galaxy, he felt that humanity's potential had finally been recognized. Over the following days, the galaxy continued to react. Political leaders debated the implications of a human chosen as the consort to the princess. Some tried to manipulate events, others sought alliances. Yet Alex remained steadfast, never bowing to pressure, never acting out of fear. His simple humanity, honest, fair, compassionate, earned him respect even among former critics. Lyra and Alex spent time together, learning about each other. She shared stories of her life, of the burdens she bore, and of the loneliness that came from being admired by so many yet understood by so few. Alex shared his life on Arden, of quiet nights under the stars, of the simple joys of repairing ships and helping his neighbors. Despite the vast differences between their worlds, they found a shared understanding. Where Lyra saw duty and legacy, Alex saw humanity and connection. Where Alex saw simplicity and humility, Lyra saw courage and clarity. Each admired the other, and slowly, a bond formed, not of politics or ambition, but of genuine respect and growing affection. News of their partnership spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humans, long underestimated, were now seen in a new light. Across distant planets, species began to reconsider their assumptions about humans. Stories of Alex's cleverness, bravery, and empathy inspired admiration. He became a symbol, not of conquest or wealth or power, but of the human spirit. The contest, which was meant to showcase wealth, strength, and prestige, had instead revealed something unexpected. A human could outshine the galaxy's greatest champions simply by being true to himself. And Lyra's choice sent a message that resonated deeply. Character mattered more than power, humility more than arrogance, and courage more than fame. As weeks passed, preparations began for the formal union. Ceremonies were planned, speeches written, and celebrations arranged. Yet throughout all the grandeur, Lyra and Alex remained grounded. They walked together among the citizens, talked with leaders, and quietly observed the galaxy's reactions. One day, as they stood on a cliff overlooking a sparkling ocean, Lyra spoke. "You have changed everything," she said. "Not just for me, but for the galaxy. They will never see humans the same way again." Alex smiled. "I never meant to, I just tried to do what was right." Lyra reached for his hand. "That is exactly why it matters, and that is why I chose you." In that moment, Alex understood the truth. It was never about wealth, power, or reputation. It was about heart. And with that heart, he had not only won the princess's trust and respect, but he had also begun to reshape the galaxy's view of humanity. As stars twinkled above, the distant planet seemed to shine a little brighter. A new era had begun, a time when humanity's courage, kindness, and intelligence could stand equal to any species in the galaxy. And standing beside Princess Lyra, Alex felt a quiet certainty that together they could face any challenge. No matter how vast or impossible, the galaxy had expected a spectacle of power, but it had been given a story of hope, of courage, and of the human spirit. And for Alex, the humble human who had once only dreamed of the stars, this was only the beginning.